One of the first recognizable organs to form is the heart. Without a heart, there is no way of spreading around the food and oxygen the embryo needs to flourish. Until now, the heart has been a dormant clump of muscle cells. But after 22 days, it bursts suddenly into life, when still just the size of a poppy seed. One cell spontaneously contracts, triggering its neighbors and setting off a chain reaction until all the heart cells are beating.
Someone, tick-tock, has put tick-tock, a key tick-tock in me, tick-tock, and so tick-tock, my life, tick-tock, has just tick-tock begun, tick-tock. How long, tick-tock, will this tick-tock go on, tick-tock, go on, tick-tock, go on, tick-tock, go on, until...
Later on, when the nervous system is more developed, the brain will carefully control the rate of contraction, keeping it steadily beating and pumping for the rest of the child's life. If he lives to 75, that will be 2¾ billion heartbeats.
There is a physical place inside your heart that has a singularity. Your heart has a little cavity between the two ventricular of the heart, and that little cavity has the highest electromagnetic field of your body. It can be measured up to 8 feet away from you. And that's the battery of life that keeps your heart going. When you die, that singularity is no longer present, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're missing a bunch of weight that they can't account for that disappear when people die. The weight is the result of that singularity curving space-time, creating a gravitational effect that we call weight.
The human heart is now documented as the strongest generator of both electrical and magnetic fields in the body. Now, this is important because we've always been taught that the brain is where the action is. The brain has an electrical field, it does have a magnetic field, but they're relatively weak compared to the heart. The heart is about 100 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger, 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. And the reason this is important is because the physical world as we know it is made of those two fields of energy, electrical and magnetic fields of energy, electromagnetic fields. Our own physics books now tell us if we can change either the magnetic field of an atom or the electrical field of the atom, by doing that we literally change that atom. We change the stuff that our bodies in this world are made of. And it appears now that the human heart is designed to do both, to change both the electrical field and the magnetic field of our bodies and our world, and they do so in response to the emotions that we create between our heart and our brain.
It's really important that you connect with the separate parts of the ecosystem that is your body. And one of the parts of this ecosystem of your body that's the most important to connect with is your heart. The heart is the first organ to form when the body is developing in utero. When an embryo is made up of only a very few cells, each cell can get the nutrients it needs directly from its surroundings. But as the cells divide and multiply to form a growing body, it soon becomes impossible for nutrients to reach all the cells efficiently without help. The cells also produce waste that they need to get rid of. So the heart and the blood and the circulatory system that branch off from the heart form the first organ system to develop. They are essential to carry nutrients and waste around the embryo to keep its cells alive. The heart is the connection between all future systems that are to form in the body. This is why it is so often seen as the center of your being. You can use the heart as a doorway between physical and non-physical reality. In other words, it is the doorway between your soul and your physical body. You can also use the heart to send energy to all parts of your body, much like it sends blood to all parts of your body.
But around the heart is a toroidal field, and the heart is creating that toroidal field, and it's a magnetic field, and it's a very strong field. It took a very huge amount of electricity to make this. But when you look at if you look at the field, it's a toroidal. I get my hands down here. The toroidal field goes in like that, and all of this out here is polarized. But when the polarization comes in, there's this point where it all comes together. And then it very quickly breaks apart and goes back out again. But in that little space, that's what the Vedas call the tiny space of the heart. And there is no polarity there. It is the only place in the universe where there's no polarity. That's the only place. That's best I can tell right now. I don't think there's, and now it could be a galaxy and a huge toroidal field, billion light years across, but it's still going to come in, and there's going to be this tiny place relative to the size of that thing, which is where there's no polarity. All tiny spaces, whether they're in the heart or the center of a galaxy or the center of a planet or the center of a sun or star, they're all interlinked and connected together. And so no matter where you are, if you're in your own heart, in your own body, you are at that moment connected to all life everywhere, whether we know it or not.
Over the past 18 years, our research center has investigated heart-brain interactions, how the heart and the brain communicate with each other, and how that affects consciousness and our perceptions. One of the things we identified in our research was the state we now call coherence. And what we found was that when we're feeling positive emotions, like we're really appreciating the sunset, or really feeling love or compassion or care for someone, that the heart beats out a very different message. The heart generates by far the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field produced in the body. And what we've now found is that if we look at the spectrum analysis of the magnetic field radiated by the heart, that emotional information is actually encoded and modulating into those fields. So by learning to shift our emotions, that's changing the information we're encoding into the magnetic fields radiated by the heart, and that can impact those around us. We are fundamentally and deeply interconnected with each other and the planet itself, and what we do individually really does count and matters.
Why is it important to educate the heart? What does the recent research say? What we know now from very clear scientific evidence that educating the heart, that is, teaching children these skills such as empathy and compassion, self-esteem, self-awareness, social awareness, not only helps children be successful in school, but also successful in life. Centuries ago, Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And so this idea of educating the heart has been around for a really long time. You can teach these skills. You can teach children empathy and compassion altruism and kindness to others. But I don't mean just teach them and have them practice it in a sentence or have to just watch a show that shows them exactly what to do. What we know is we need to both create the conditions in which they feel positive relationships with others, where they're connected to others, that promote those skills, where they see those skills being enacted, but also get opportunities to practice these skills with others. Typically when we think about education, we think of math, science, social studies, English, language arts, things like that. And here what we're referring to is educating these other positive human qualities.